Hello, my name is Cheryl Brunette, and thank you for stopping by my knitting channel, where you will find tips and techniques, full workshops, and answers to your most perplexing sweater questions. Today, we're going to look at some knitted fabrics that lie flat, the kinds of fabrics that you would use for scarves and afghans, for example. We're going to start by looking at an afghan that my mother made for a gift for my first wedding in 1969, and we will end by looking at an afghan that I'm making for a wedding gift for my son and his fiancée. In between, we'll look at a few other things. So let's get started. This afghan is an example of a classic Aran design with lots of texture. You'll remember from the episode on the dreaded stockinette curl that the front and back faces of a single knit stitch are different sizes. This whole afghan is bordered with a wide band of seed stitch, a fabric that perfectly balances knits and purls on both sides. When you have this perfect balance, the fabric does not curl. Cables tend not to roll, and by surrounding them with purls, we not only see them better, but again, you get some balance between knits and purls. The textured sections, like this bobble panel and this trellis, also combine knits and purls. The balance of each panel isn't perfect, but for the overall afghan, I'm willing to bet that the balance is pretty close. This is an interesting piece. It uses stockinette curl as a design element, but it balances the knits and purls overall so that the fabric lies flat. You can see how just 3 rows each of stockinette and then reverse stockinette makes these welts, and the welts rise because of that curling tendency. This is a special design. These are not just simple welts. It has a very clever use of short rows to throw in these curves, which I just love. And I have to tell you that I was given this hand-knit, hand-spun beauty as a gift, and I love it. I wear it all the time. Here's a sample of entrelac, all knits on one side and all purls on the other. But by making small sections of stockinette and having them run in different directions, it balances the curl, which again gives texture to the fabric. Here's another interesting piece, a fabric that has all knits on one side and all purls on the other. But as you can see, there's no curl at all. This is what's called a linen stitch, and there are many variations. It consists of stockinette, knit a row, purl a row, but you slip stitches every row. This pattern, this particular one, is formed by making sure the yarn is always on the knit side when you slip the stitches. I think I know why there's no curl on this fabric. Both the stitches and the rows are being compressed. These little lengths of yarn that you see here, these are the ones that came forward. They are pulling those 2 stitches over which they run together just a tiny little bit. And every time you slip a stitch, rather than knit it or purl it, it's shorter than the stitches that you work. So you're getting 2 kinds of action going on. You've got it pulling in this way and pulling in that way. Finally, we come to this beautiful and remarkably easy to knit garter stitch afghan, or rather afghan part. Garter stitch is the mother of all flat fabrics. It's usually worked back and forth rather than in the round, and every row is knitted. No purls. Thus, you have perfectly balanced knits and purls on both sides. We will revisit this afghan and how it's made very soon, and if you haven't already made mitered squares, you are going to love it. So there we have it. Some flat knitted fabrics that you can use for full projects, or you can add to the ends of stockinette in an attempt to control that curl. I've already given you my take on that particular issue in knitting, but we will continue as knitters to use that strategy because it really does tame the curl to some degree. There are many more fabrics than I showed you that will lie flat. So I encourage you to look at some stitch dictionaries. My favorites are my old Barbara Walker ones. I have some others too, but these are my standards. And for my machine knitting friends, I recommend Susan Guillaume hand manipulated stitches for machine knitters. And if you have been inspired today to think that you might want to try to make an afghan or a blanket, I have put a link below to your very own PDF copy, your very own, of Afghan 101, an easy guide to planning blankets to cuddle everyone. It is a really simple little guide that gives you sizing for everything from a receiving blanket up to something that's going to cover a king-size bed. And it's handy. It's handy as a reference. I use it and I wrote it because who can keep all those numbers in their head anyway? So that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you see what you like, and sign up for the email option for new episodes that come out. And until I see you again, be brave, and enjoy your knitting. That looks a little bit messy. Where you will find tips and techniques, a dog barking. Let me swallow that spit. So there we have it. Lots of it. My lips must be cold. It's a little cold in here still. Thanks, Sharisa.